Welcome to the Settle Your Side Hustle podcast. I started this podcast for one very simple reason, and that is to show you what it's like to actually start a business. Going from a side hustle business that I'm doing while working the 9 to 5 to being full-time in my business, living the life that I want, controlling my time, controlling my hours. And the number one problem that I had with every podcast I listen to on the market is that either A, they don't actually get down to the nitty-gritty. They're not transparent with you, telling you about their actual struggles, or B, they've already made it so there aren't struggles to share. And that's why I decided to start this podcast right here, right now, as I've just transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship, so I can actually share with you the struggles as I go through them, and you can learn from my experiences while you're growing your business alongside me. Now, let's get into the show. What is up, side hustlers, entrepreneurs, business builders, and dream makers? Welcome to the Settle Your Side Hustle podcast, episode number 8. So great to be back with you again, as we are every single weekday. Hey, today I want to share a story with you, actually, maybe two stories, based on something that I see a lot with people who are entrepreneurial, like you and I, people who want to build a business. I've talked recently about shiny object syndrome, how we're very creative. That makes us squirrely, and I want to share a couple stories with you so that I can kind of elaborate on this a little bit. Okay, so yesterday I had a coaching call with not a client, because one of the things that I do is, like, on a monthly basis, I just open up my coaching calendar to my followers on Facebook, and I just say, you know what, I'm going to do a free full-hour coaching call with no sales pitch at the end to anybody who schedules one this week. Let me know if you want me to send you the link. And so they weren't a client, but it also wasn't a sales call. It was a genuine coaching call. So I had a coaching call with a connection of mine, I'll call them, yesterday. And one of the things that they asked me was just simply, do I think that they can build two businesses at the same time? They don't have a business right now. They have a day job, but they're interested in building a business in the world of programming, maybe a course teaching people how to program, maybe done for you services where they'll be like a freelancer programmer. They're not quite sure, but something in that space. And then the other one that they like to do is something in the world of personal fitness, being like a virtual personal fitness coach. And they asked me if I thought that they could build both at the same time. And my answer very technically is yes, and very practically no. Yes, you can, but no, you shouldn't, is kind of my answer on that. And so what I shared with them is my own personal story that I'm now going to share with you of spending the first 7 years as a business owner being very squirrely, trying to do a lot of things at once, getting a little bit of traction and a lot of different stuff, and sometimes a decent amount of traction, but I was too squirrely to keep it, and as a result, it just took me a lot longer to get any traction. And in fact, when I finally got traction, it was a result of actually learning how to focus on one thing. And so something that I learned or heard a long time ago, I started hearing this when I was 18 years old, is the idea that FOCUS is an acronym, and FOCUS stands for Follow One Course Until Success. FOCUS, follow one course until success. If you're not doing that, it's going to be really, really hard to grow any business, let alone multiple businesses. And so the recommendation that I give to anyone who isn't already a successful business owner or doesn't already have several successful projects under their belt is that you should follow one course until success. Build one business until it's at a point of success where you can offload the majority of the work in that business to a small or large team, and then you're in a position where you can start building a second business. And in fact, the second business will be easier at that point because you've built social clout, you have capital to support it with, you have a brand presence. Everything becomes easier once it's not the first thing. You already have momentum going for you. And so one of the hardest things in the world to do is to build momentum. It's actually the case that this is what economists call the Matthew principle. I went to school and studied for actuarial sciences, and that means that I took a lot of economics courses. The Matthew principle is named after a verse in Matthew in the Gospel of Matthew, and the Matthew principle, the verse says, "For he who has more will be given, and to he who has not, even what he has will be taken from him." And so economists point this out, that this is actually a description of the Pareto distribution. And so it's in very specific cases called the Matthew principle. And that is simply that wins stack up and so do losses, effectively. So if you literally have no money to your name, imagine somebody who's homeless, then it's going to be very, very hard for you to make any money whatsoever. It's going to be hard for you to get a job. And it's really hard to get a job if you're homeless because usually an employer needs to be able to put down your address. You don't have one. And so there's all these excessive hurdles to getting any amount of money at all if you don't have any money. But if you have a part-time job, if you have a part-time minimum wage job, then it's actually much easier to make a little bit more money. It's not easy to go from there to being a millionaire. It's not, but it's easy to go from there to making a little bit more. If you have a part-time minimum wage job, you could get a full-time minimum wage job, you'll make more money, or you could get a full-time job that pays slightly more than minimum wage, you'll make more money. You can save up and then you can learn a trade. You can go to trade school or you can become an apprentice and you can start you start noticing that the steps are getting bigger. It's easier to grow at this point. And then you get to a certain point where you have you making six figures and you can start healthily investing. And now you have money that's making money for you. And pretty soon you're on a track to being a millionaire by retirement. And you could probably make that faster if you wanted to. So that's what the Matthew principle basically states is and for those who have billions and millions of dollars to their name, it's incredibly easy to make more money. They can make $100,000 with a right investment in a day. So that's the Matthew principle. Wins stack up, losses stack up. And basically the way that I interpret that, a lot of business owners interpret that is momentum's really, really hard to build. So once you have it, then you want to do everything you can to make sure that you maintain it. But that also means that if you're trying to build momentum in two directions at once, you're just making it that much harder on yourself, something that's already incredibly difficult. There's like the idea that anyone who chases after two rabbits catches neither, right? So I'll give you this last story to kind of bring this point home from back in my days as a teacher. I had a student who told me that they wanted to be an actress. And I'm like, that's amazing. So if you really want to be an actress, then you got to understand what you're up against. Okay. If you want to be an actress, and I didn't say this as motivational, and I didn't say this to try to get them to change their goals. I said this to help them realize the reality of their goals in hopes that if they were meant to be an actress, this would inspire them. And if they shouldn't be an actress, then this would tell them, okay, I should not do that. And so I just had this conversation. I was like, well, you got to know what you're up against. If you want to be an actress, you got to understand that the majority of actors and actresses, whether they go to school for it or not, end up struggling for years, potentially decades before they make it, if they ever make it at all. And so if you want to be an actress, what you need to do is you need to go all in on it. The student was debating on whether they should do the play next term or be a cheerleader next term. And I just asked them point blank, well, do you want to be an actress? Because if you wanted to be an actress, then you know what to do. You would do the play. And in fact, everything you would do would be centered around honing your skills as an actress. You realize that you're going to make sacrifices for that. You're not going to party as much with your friends. You're not going to be a cheerleader. You're not going to do other extracurriculars because you're going to be all in on being an actress. And that's going to be your entire focus in life. And she's like, well, there's still well, I could still fail, right? Absolutely, you could still fail. Absolutely. I'm not saying that if you go all in on this, that guarantees success. I'm saying that it's the only thing that could possibly lead to success. If you differentiate and you lose focus, then you're never going to hit that goal because it's an incredibly hard goal to hit. But if you want to do it, I'll support you. Go all in on it, and that's the decision you got to make. And then I gave her this analogy, and this analogy really helped me in my own business just a couple months later. Said, imagine in this room, in my classroom, there was this small chihuahua. And imagine that this chihuahua thought that I wanted to murder it. And I really, really wanted to pet the little doggy. Okay. So when I reach down to pet the dog in this large classroom and it thinks that I'm trying to kill it, what do you think the dog's going to do? Well, the dog's going to run away. Exactly. Okay, so let's say I'm really determined though, right? And so I kind of chase the dog around a little bit because I'm trying to pet the dog, and eventually the dog gets stuck in a corner. Now it's in a corner, and I'm reaching down, and my hand's coming out down at it, and it thinks that I'm trying to kill it. What do you think the dog's going to do now? Well, it's going to bite you. Exactly. So here's what we can learn from that. Animals, when given the opportunity, run. But when they're cornered, backs against the wall, they fight back. So if you want to do something that's very, very hard to do, that very few people succeed in, then you need to put yourself in a position where you can't run. You need to make sure that you don't have safety nets. You don't have bridges. This is the only option. This is my do or die. My back's against the wall. I have to make this work. And if you're in a position where you earnestly believe that, then you'll fight as hard as you can. And that's how you're going to optimize your probability for success in your single course of action. This is me sharing with you guys a lot of my beliefs on this subject, right? I believe these things wholeheartedly. I make my decisions trying to embody this. And the more I lean into that idea of following one course until success, having my back against the wall and having no other choice, the more success I see in my business. And it's something that I believed before I saw notable amount of success in my business. And it's something that I've believed now that I am seeing more and more traction and momentum in my business. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. That's all I got for you. Love you guys so much. I'll be back in your earbuds tomorrow. And before we sign off, I want to remind you that I have a very special gift for you. If you want to take advantage of it, if you like to start your own side hustle, then I have 3 amazing tools to help you do that. If you don't know what you want to do yet, then the first tool I have for you is a list of 50 proven side hustles that you can start with just a laptop. You can pick from any of those and you can launch a business. If you do know what you want to do, but you don't know how to do it, the second gift I have for you is a list of the 11 tools that you need to get started with an online business. Most of them, by the way, are free. And finally, if you have a business or you just went through those first 2 and now you have an idea for a business, but you have no idea where your next customer is coming from, I have a free Facebook group where I do a live training on how to build your side hustle every single Monday. And all of these are bundled into one link in the description for you as a gift, as a thank you for listening to this podcast. So I invite you to take action on that. Join the Facebook group. When you do that, message me and say hi. I'd be so happy to connect with you. Until next time, guys. Take care.